Hi, I'm Eric McGhee, a research fellow here at the Public Policy Institute of California, studying politics and elections. This fall, we'll be voting on one U.S. Senate race and all statewide offices, including governor. I'm here to give just a little bit of context to that election, including some broader political trends and some basic political facts about the state. California has a complex political profile that has undergone substantial change in the last few decades. It's generally considered a blue or democratic state, but there's a lot of exceptions to that rule. Take our elections. Several decades ago, at the presidential level, we used to be considered a competitive state, though we did tend to vote Republican. Over the last few decades, the state has gradually shifted to the point where now the presidential race is considered a lock for the Democrats. U.S. congressional races and statewide offices outside of governor have pretty much followed suit to the point where Democrats dominate those races as well. But other aspects of the state politics have not changed as much. The legislature has been, for decades, a virtual lock for Democrats, and it continues to be so, while governor's races remain competitive for both parties, with even maybe a slight advantage for Republicans. Over the last few decades, the state's political geography has changed dramatically as well. It was once the case that we had a strong north-south divide. The San Francisco Bay Area and the Central Valley were Democratic, and Southern California was Republican. LA County, by far the largest and most politically consequential in the state, was considered more competitive. Now there's really more of a coastal inland divide. The Central Valley has become Republican, while LA County has become strongly Democratic. And virtually all of the coast, with a few exceptions, now leans Democratic. Registration trends further complicate this picture. Both parties have steadily lost registrants, while the independent category has grown tremendously. That's not a trend unique to California by any means, but it certainly is visible here. Ironically, despite the Democratic successes in other aspects of the state's politics, the party has lost registrants faster than Republicans. We can begin to explain this strange discrepancy by understanding that independents are not the monolithic swing voter group that they're often portrayed to be, but are instead incredibly diverse. Some lean, in fact, most lean toward one party or the other. And research shows that those who lean tend to behave more like classic partisans. And they tend to lean toward the same party in one election to the next. In California, most independents lean Democratic, and relatively few lean Republican. And that helps explain the way that registration has moved away from the Democrats while voting has moved toward them. All signs point to a good year nationally for Republican candidates this fall. In California, that likely means that the statewide races, especially for governor and senator, will be very competitive and could go either way. Down ballot, the races are not likely to be as competitive because the state legislative and congressional districts are themselves uncompetitive. The 2008 election did increase Democratic registration across the state and so pushed a few Republican seats into the competitive category. But the good year Republicans can expect to have this fall will probably keep them in Republican hands. And there are very few Democratic seats on the other side of the aisle that are competitive enough to be considered in play. Ultimately, we can't know for sure what will happen in this fall's election. And politics has a wonderful capacity to surprise. But I hope that in giving some sense of the larger context of the election, it helps give a better sense of the range of possibilities. Thanks for listening.